Florida couple says no hard feelings to the man who crashed their wedding reception. They're amused that he barged into their first dance, but cops weren't.
Are weddings always the fairy tale we envision? Or can they sometimes spiral into a nightmare beyond imagination? Sometimes, the seemingly perfect day can turn topsy-turvy. Imagine a groom forgetting the rings, a cake collapsing, or even an unexpected guest making an unforgettable entrance. So join us as we take you through the riveting tales of weddings that turned into a nightmare, where love meets chaos in the most unexpected ways. Wedding turned Funera. Imagine the joy of finally tying the knot with the love of your life, surrounded by family and friends, only for tragedy to strike in the most unexpected and devastating way. This was the heartbreaking reality for Gaisa Guimaraes and Fabio Jefferson Maciel, whose wedding day turned into a nightmare beyond comprehension. The day started like any other fairy tale wedding. Gaisa and Fabio exchanged vows in a beautiful church ceremony, with over 200 guests witnessing their declaration of love. The atmosphere was filled with laughter, tears of joy, and hopes for a future filled with happiness. As the evening progressed, the newlyweds and their guests moved to a luxurious beachside venue to continue the celebrations. The mood was vibrant, with music, dancing, and laughter filling the air. However, amidst the revelry, a tragic accident unfolded that would change everything. In a moment of playful innocence, Fabio found himself joking around with one of the young bridesmaids. Little did he know that this playful moment would lead to a catastrophe beyond imagination. As Fabio stumbled, he fell forward and, in a cruel twist of fate, landed on a beer glass tucked into his pocket. The shattering glass severed Fabio's femoral vein, causing him to bleed profusely. Despite the frantic efforts to save him, the severity of the injury proved fatal. Within hours of exchanging vows, Fabio, a Brazilian Navy sergeant with dreams of a bright future, succumbed to the tragic accident, leaving behind his devastated bride and a room filled with shocked and grieving loved ones. The news of Fabio's sudden and untimely death sent shockwaves through the wedding party and beyond. Gaisa, now a widow just hours after becoming a wife, was left in a state of disbelief and unimaginable grief. Her dreams of a happily ever after with Fabio shattered in an instant, replaced by the overwhelming pain of loss and uncertainty. As the reality of the tragedy sank in, friends and family rallied around Gaisa, offering comfort and support during her darkest hour. Yet the pain of losing her beloved Fabio remained a heavy burden to bear. Their wedding day was meant to be a celebration of love and unity, but instead became a haunting tale of love lost and dreams shattered. A sham marriage. Once upon a time, in the city of Derry, Northern Ireland, there lived a happy couple named Neil and Yannon. They were deeply in love and were eagerly awaiting their big day, their wedding day. Neil, a talented chef, and Yannon, a beautiful bride-to-be from China, had planned every detail meticulously. Yannon, who was 6 months pregnant with their first child, had picked out a stunning wedding gown worth £1,000. They had invited over 70 guests to celebrate with them at a lavish reception, costing £6,000. As the day of their wedding approached, Neil and Yannon could hardly contain their excitement. They had dreamed of this day for so long, and finally, it was about to become a reality. But little did they know, their dreams were about to be shattered. Moments before they were set to exchange vows and say, "I do," disaster struck. 4 plain-clothed police officers stormed in and arrested them, accusing them of having a sham marriage. Neil and Yannon were separated, thrown into prison cells, and forced to wear forensic police clothing. The hours ticked by agonizingly slow as the couple sat in despair, realizing that their wedding day was slipping away from them. Despite their protests and pleas, it took the police 4 long hours to realize their mistake. By then, it was too late to salvage their ceremony. But Neil and Yannon, determined to salvage some semblance of their special day, bravely attended their reception. They put on fake smiles for the photos, but inside, they were heartbroken. Their dreams of a perfect wedding had been shattered, and no amount of compensation could erase the pain they felt. In the aftermath of their ordeal, Neil and Yannon sought justice. They filed a complaint against the police and, after a long legal battle, were awarded £21,000 in compensation. While the money provided some comfort, it could never replace the memories they had lost. Despite their hardships, Neil and Yannon's love endured. They eventually tied the knot in a simple ceremony, surrounded by their loved ones. The Unfaithful Bride. In a world where wedding dreams often meet reality, there unfolded a story unlike any other. It started off like any other wedding. Happy faces, pretty flowers, and promises of forever. But little did everyone know this wedding was about to take a sharp turn into the land of nightmares. As the bride and groom said their I do's and danced their first dance, there was a secret lurking beneath the surface. The groom had a little surprise up his sleeve, and it wasn't a bouquet of flowers. Just before the speeches began, the groom did something unexpected. He handed out envelopes to all the guests, like a magician revealing his grand finale. But instead of magic tricks, inside those envelopes were pictures. And not just any pictures. Pictures of the bride doing some very unbride-like things with the best man. Can you imagine the shock? The gasps echoed through the room like a thunderstorm on a sunny day. The guests couldn't believe their eyes. Here they were, dressed to the nines, expecting a lovely evening of celebration, and suddenly they were thrust into the middle of a soap opera. But the groom? Oh, he was as cool as a cucumber. With a smirk on his face, he announced to the room, "Those are pictures of the bride doing naughty things with the best man. I'll be taking my leave now." And just like that, he dropped the mic and made his exit, leaving behind a room full of jaws on the floor. Now you might be wondering, why did he wait until the wedding to drop this bombshell? Well, sometimes revenge is a dish best served cold. And what's colder than exposing your cheating bride in front of all her friends and family? As for the bride, well, let's just say her honeymoon plans took a bit of a detour. And as for the best man, he probably wished he had RSVP'd no to this wedding. But amidst all the chaos and drama, there's a lesson to be learned. Never underestimate the power of a scorned groom with a handful of incriminating photos, because in the game of love and revenge, sometimes the best man doesn't win. Wedding from hell. Picture this. A picturesque church, a radiant bride, a proud groom. Sounds like the perfect recipe for a dream wedding, right? Well, not quite. Meet Vilma and Paul Cassidy, the unfortunate couple whose nuptials turned into a comedy of errors, with a dash of chaos and a sprinkle of calamity. It all began innocently enough, with Vilma preparing for her big day surrounded by her bridal party. But fate had other plans. Kenzie Gathercole, the adorable 16-month-old page boy whose unexpected fit of the blues set the tone for the day's misfortunes. As Vilma recounts, he was sitting in front of me and his eyes rolled over. He went blue in a second. Not exactly the pre-wedding excitement they had in mind. As if one medical emergency wasn't enough drama, Paul's mother, Christina Wigington, decided to join the party by collapsing outside the church. Talk about making an entrance. And guess who came to the rescue? The same paramedics who had just dealt with Kenzie's ordeal. It seems they were determined to clock in some extra hours on Vilma's special day. But wait, there's more. Just when they thought the worst was over, a guest received the heartbreaking news that her father had passed away. Talk about raining on someone's wedding parade. With each passing mishap, the Cassidys must have been wondering if they had accidentally stumbled onto the set of a reality TV show. As if the universe hadn't already played its cruel hand, their reception turned into a mini emergency room when their children, Christopher and Saidi, managed to cut their heads open. Because what's a wedding without a couple of bumps on the head, right? Despite the chaos, both Kenzie and Christina were discharged from the hospital the following day, and Paul and Vilma are now counting down the days until their well-deserved honeymoon in America. Reflecting on their roller coaster of a wedding day, Vilma summed it up perfectly. The day was half nightmare, half brilliant. Ah, the beauty of finding humor in the midst of chaos. After all, as they say, a wedding to remember is better than one that goes off without a hitch. The great tragedy. It was supposed to be a joyous occasion. A day filled with laughter, love, and promises for the future. But what began as a celebration of unity and happiness in Iraq's biggest Christian town quickly turned into a scene of devastation and tragedy. As the bride and groom danced, fireworks lit up the sky, casting a magical glow over the banquet hall in Karakosh. But little did they know that these fireworks would ignite a chain of events that would shatter lives and leave a community in mourning. In a matter of seconds, the air was filled with screams as flames engulfed the hall, fueled by highly flammable materials covering the ceiling. Panic ensued as guests struggled to escape the inferno, their joyous shouts replaced by cries of desperation and fear. Amidst the chaos, acts of heroism emerged as some risked their lives to save others. But for many, it was a battle they couldn't win. Families were torn apart, dreams were shattered, and a community was left reeling from the loss of loved ones. As the smoke cleared and the extent of the tragedy became clear, grief descended like a heavy blanket over Karakosh. Funerals were held for the victims, and their loved ones gathering to mourn those whose lives were cut short in the blink of an eye. In the aftermath of the fire, questions lingered about how such a tragedy could have occurred. Investigations were launched, and arrests were made, but the pain and sorrow remained. The wedding that was meant to be a day of joy and celebration had turned into a nightmare, leaving scars that would last a lifetime. But amidst the darkness, there was a glimmer of hope, the resilience of the human spirit, the strength of a community coming together in the face of adversity. Wedding without the groom. In the quaint village of Sisauli, Uttar Pradesh, what was supposed to be a joyous wedding celebration turned into a chaotic ordeal that left everyone stunned. The groom, Vivek Kumar, found himself at the center of a whirlwind of drama that ultimately led to his expulsion from his own wedding. It all began, innocently enough, with the age-old tradition of jota chori, where the bride's side playfully steals the groom's shoes and demands a ransom in return. A harmless custom, you might think, until Vivek Kumar took it a step too far. In a bizarre turn of events, Vivek's reaction to the shoe theft was anything but lighthearted. Instead of playing along with the customary banter, he flew into a rage, hurling abuses at the women from the bride's side. Talk about missing the memo on wedding etiquette! Despite attempts by family members to calm Vivek down, his temper only escalated, leading to a string of expletives and even a physical altercation. The situation quickly spiraled out of control, leaving everyone in shock and disbelief. When word of Vivek's outburst reached the bride, she made a bold decision to call off the wedding then and there. The entire barat was sent packing, while Vivek, his father, and 2 relatives found themselves in a sticky situation, held captive by the bride's family. But the drama didn't end there. The bride, determined to make a statement, demanded that Vivek's family repay the hefty dowry of rupees 10 lakhs. Now that's what you call turning the tables. Amidst the chaos, village elders, including Bharatiya Kisan Union, BKU, Chief Naresh Tikait, attempted to intervene and salvage the situation. However, the bride stood firm in her decision, refusing to marry Vivek despite all persuasions. In the end, a compromise was reached, with neither party willing to take the matter further with formal complaints. It seems the village of Sisauli had witnessed enough drama for one day. While Vivek's antics may have left everyone scratching their heads, one thing is for sure: this wedding will go down in history as one of the most unforgettable and bizarre events to ever unfold in the village. Groom's slippery surprise. In the grand script of weddings, there are moments of pure magic and moments that veer off course into the realm of unexpected chaos. Such was the case for Mr. Chad Cannard and Miss Julia Magdaleno, whose wedding day took an unexpected turn when a simple gesture turned into a dramatic tumble. Picture this: a beautiful garden party wedding venue, the air filled with anticipation and excitement as the groom sweeps his bride off her feet. It's a scene straight out of a romantic comedy until it isn't. As Mr. Cannard enthusiastically carries his bride toward their awaiting guests, his excitement gets the best of him, and he trips, sending them both crashing to the ground. Gasps and exclamations fill the air as the pair take an unexpected spill onto the concrete path. But amidst the chaos and embarrassment, Miss Magdaleno finds herself laughing, her spirit unbroken despite the fall. Miraculously, she manages to hold on to her bridal bouquet throughout the ordeal, a symbol of resilience in the face of unexpected mishaps. In the aftermath of the fall, minor cuts and bruises are the only casualties, and both bride and groom emerge relatively unscathed. While Miss Magdaleno admits to feeling sore the next day, she finds humor in the situation, declaring it as one of the best moments of her wedding day. What makes the story even more memorable is that it was Miss Magdaleno's mother who uploaded the 17-second clip online, propelling it to viral fame. While some may cringe at the thought of their most embarrassing moment being broadcast to the world, Miss Magdaleno embraces it, finding solace in the fact that it's a moment her friends and family will never forget. As the dust settles and the laughter subsides, one thing becomes clear: love may have hit the ground, but the bond between Mr. Cannard and Miss Magdaleno remains unshakable. Subscriber's pick. Before we move forward, we have our subscriber's pick. In a wedding ceremony that seems straight out of a fairy tale, the bride and groom walk down the aisle together, hand in hand, with smiles that could light up the room. Friends and family gathered to witness their union, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface. As the ceremony reached its pinnacle and the couple exchanged vows, little did anyone know that a bombshell revelation was about to shake the foundation of their happiness. Just as the newlyweds were about to seal their love with a kiss, a video began playing on the giant screens surrounding the venue. The video showed none other than the groom, caught in a compromising position with the bride's sister. Gasps of disbelief echoed through the room as the shocking truth unfolded before their eyes. The bride stood frozen, her heart shattered into a million pieces, while the groom's face turned pale with guilt and shame. Amidst the chaos and disbelief, the bride's sister, once considered a trusted confidant, stood in silence, unable to meet the accusing gazes of her family. The betrayal cut deep, tearing apart the bonds of trust and love that had once bound the family together. As the video came to an end, the air was thick with tension and unanswered questions. How could the groom betray the woman he vowed to love and cherish? And what drove the bride's sister to betray her own flesh and blood? What would you do if you were in the bride's shoes? How would you handle such a devastating revelation on what was supposed to be the happiest day of your life? Let us know in the comments below. The Floral Fiasco. In the picturesque setting of the Tuscan countryside, where romance fills the air like the scent of blooming flowers, one wedding took a dramatic turn that no one could have anticipated. Isidoro Pensieri, entrusted with the task of launching the bride's bouquet from an ultra-light aircraft, found himself at the center of a harrowing ordeal that left him hospitalized with serious injuries. What was meant to be a whimsical departure from tradition quickly spiraled into chaos as the bouquet, instead of gracefully finding its way into the hands of eager single women, became entangled in the aircraft's rear rotor. As Martha Stewart advises on the art of bouquet tossing, recommending picturesque settings and graceful gestures, this particular wedding opted for a more adventurous approach. Little did they know that this deviation from the norm would lead to a near-catastrophic accident. Italian news agency reports detail how the bouquet's ill-fated trajectory resulted in a catastrophic explosion in the aircraft's motor, sending it hurtling towards the ground. Miraculously, the pilot, Luciano Nanelli, managed to escape the crash unscathed, but Pensieri wasn't as fortunate, suffering serious facial and head injuries, along with 2 broken legs. The scene, reminiscent of a Hollywood blockbuster gone wrong, unfolded near a restaurant hosting a wedding reception, adding a surreal twist to an already unbelievable story. As the bouquet-induced chaos unfolded, the aircraft narrowly missed a nearby hostel, averting what could have been a far more disastrous outcome. In the aftermath of the crash, the bride and groom were spared from the ordeal, having not been aboard the ill-fated aircraft. However, the incident serves as a stark reminder of the unpredictable nature of weddings and the unexpected twists that can accompany even the most joyous occasions. While the bouquet toss has long been a cherished tradition, this incident underscores the importance of safety and careful planning, lest a whimsical gesture leads to unintended consequences. Wedding humor backfires. Weddings are supposed to be joyous occasions, but sometimes things take an unexpected turn, leaving everyone involved scratching their heads in disbelief. Such was the case for Tina Albrecht, whose lighthearted joke during her wedding ceremony turned into a nightmare she never saw coming. As Tina stood at the altar with her fiancé Dietmar Koch, ready to exchange vows at a picturesque castle in Steyr, Upper Austria, she decided to inject a bit of humor into the proceedings by playfully uttering the words, "I don't." Her innocent jest would have serious consequences. Under Austrian law, if either the bride or groom responds negatively to the question of whether they take each other in marriage, the wedding must be cancelled, and it cannot be rescheduled for another 10 weeks. Tina's joke had derailed the entire ceremony, leaving the couple and their guests stunned and bewildered. As the reality of the situation sunk in, Tina and Dietmar were forced to send their guests home, and their dreams of a fairy tale wedding shattered in an instant. What was meant to be a day of celebration had turned into a logistical nightmare, with no immediate recourse but to wait patiently for another chance to say, "I do." Reflecting on the unfortunate turn of events, Tina admitted that her attempt at humor had backfired spectacularly. "In retrospect, it was probably not so funny," she remarked, acknowledging the gravity of the situation and the unintended consequences of her words. While some may find humor in the absurdity of the situation for Tina and Dietmar, it was a bitter pill to swallow. The anticipation and excitement of their wedding day had been replaced by disappointment and frustration, leaving them to wonder what might have been. As they await their chance to try again, Tina and Dietmar can't help but rue the day when a seemingly harmless joke turned their wedding into a cautionary tale of unintended consequences. In the end, they learned the hard way that sometimes it's best to leave the jokes for the reception and stick to the script when it comes to saying, "I do." Russian roulette gone wrong. In the annals of wedding lore, tales of mishaps and unexpected events abound. Yet amidst the joy and celebration, some stories take a darker turn. Such is the case of a wedding in Astrakhan, Russia, where what began as a jovial toast turned into a harrowing nightmare. Imagine the scene. The bride and groom surrounded by loved ones, eagerly anticipating a day of bliss. All seemed well until a guest decided to inject an element of danger into the festivities. With a flourish, he produced a handgun and announced his intention to play Russian roulette, a game of chance that has no place in the realm of matrimonial merrymaking. As the unsuspecting crowd watched in horror, the guest, perhaps in jest, placed the gun against his temple and pulled the trigger. A moment of stunned silence hung in the air before chaos erupted. The gun, believed to be empty, had discharged a rubber bullet, setting off a chain of events that would forever alter the course of the celebration. In a cruel twist of fate, the gun was then passed to another guest, who, unaware of the danger that lurked within its chambers, repeated the fatal act. The bullet found its mark, shattering not only bone, but also the illusion of safety that had enveloped the gathering. The aftermath was one of panic and disbelief. As the injured guest lay on the ground, writhing in pain, the realization of what had transpired began to sink in. The joyous occasion had been marred by tragedy, leaving the bride and groom to grapple with a sobering reality. The repercussions were severe. The injured guest, once full of life and vitality, now faced a long and arduous road to recovery. Brain damage and paralysis were the cruel legacies of a reckless game played in the name of entertainment. The guest who had introduced the deadly prop into the proceedings found himself facing a different kind of reckoning. Arrested and charged with negligence, he stood as a stark reminder of the perils of thoughtless actions. As the dust settled and the shock began to fade, one couldn't help but ponder the absurdity of it all. What began as a light-hearted toast had morphed into a cautionary tale, underscoring the importance of prudence and responsibility in moments of celebration. In the end, amidst the shattered remnants of shattered dreams, one truth remained clear. Weddings are meant to be a celebration of love, not a stage for reckless games of chance. Luna Park lunacy. Weddings, the culmination of love, dreams, and carefully laid plans. But for Rebecca Stone and Richard Johnson, their big day at Sydney's Luna Park turned into a roller coaster of chaos and disappointment. Picture this. A picturesque venue, vows exchanged under the twinkling lights, and promises of forever. Sounds magical, right? Wrong. From cancellation threats to incorrect food portions, the couple's dream day quickly turned into a nightmare before their eyes. First came the ominous warning of cancellation over a payment delay, sending waves of panic through the soon-to-be weds. Then, on the day itself, a series of mishaps unfolded like a tragic comedy of errors. Balloon decorators were barred from entry, guests were left standing in the rain, and a semi-decorated function room greeted the bride's eager eyes. But the woes didn't stop there. As the festivities continued, so did the calamity. Ignored run sheets, stolen bouquets, and abysmal service left the couple and their guests feeling like second-class citizens in their own celebration. And let's not forget the culinary catastrophe. Raw chicken, seared beef, and disappearing canapes left stomachs grumbling and spirits sinking. As if that weren't enough, the evening took a dramatic turn when police were summoned to the scene. The once happy occasion descended into chaos, leaving the newlyweds reeling and questioning how their fairy tale had spiraled so disastrously out of control. But wait, there's more! Luna Park, in a fiery retort, refuted the couple's claims, painting a starkly different picture of the events that transpired. Accusations of unruly behavior and instigated fights cast a shadow over the bride and groom, transforming their tale of woe into a heated dispute with the iconic theme park. In the end, what should have been a day of joy and celebration became a cautionary tale of wedding woes and misadventures. Luna Park may offer unrivaled vistas of the Harbor Bridge and Opera House, but for Rebecca and Richard, it will forever be tainted by memories of a wedding that turned into a circus of calamity. So, to all the future brides and grooms out there, heed this cautionary tale. Choose your wedding venue wisely, lest your dream day becomes a nightmare at Luna Park. The elevator escapade. You've just said, "I do" to the love of your life, and you're ready to celebrate with friends and family at the reception. The excitement is palpable as you step into the elevator, eager to ascend to the festivities awaiting you on the 16th floor. But then, without warning, the elevator halts, leaving you and your wedding party stranded between floors. This is exactly what happened to Victoria and Panav Jha on their wedding night. It all started with high hopes and higher heels, as the Jhas, along with 4 of their wedding entourage, boarded the elevator at the Grand Bohemian Hotel. Their destination? The 16th floor after-party where the fun awaited. But fate had other plans. Instead of soaring to the skies, they found themselves lodged somewhere between floor 1 and floor 2. Talk about a party pooper. As panic began to rise faster than the elevator, the groom, Panav, describes the scene with a mix of humor and horror. "We got up maybe 5 feet, and then boom, the doors kind of stuck," he recalls. Not exactly the romantic elevator ride they had in mind. Next came the heroes of the hour, the Charlotte Fire Department. These real-life action figures swooped in to save the day, armed with ropes and determination. Despite facing a snag in their rescue plan, the firefighters refused to let the wedding party's spirits sink. With a mix of ingenuity and muscle power, they executed a daring elevator rescue that even James Bond would envy. After all, what's a wedding without a memorable anecdote or two? As the couple emerged from their unplanned adventure, they may have missed their grand reception, but they gained a story for the ages. And while their after-party may have been postponed, the bond forged amidst concrete walls and elevator cables is one that will last a lifetime. This was all from our side. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.